Maybe if I write it, you'll remember it.
There, right? There? No? Oh,
Adam.
Oh,
What is Adam? Man. All right, how about Adama?
dirt.
Yes, dirt or the ground. We learned the word makom. What is makom?
Place.
A place. We learned the word Shem.
I'll let sister Sharon.
I'm going to let Brother Ortiz.
Shem?
Shem.
Oh, there.
No, Sham.
What's your name? Sister?
Sham is there.
What's your Shem?
Shem is name.
I know you try to help him. Beyond help.
And then we learned the verb yashav.
Yeshav.
What does that mean?
Yeshav, is that right now? Or
No.
Akshav,
It's a
I'm
verb.
thinking Akshav.
Yeah, you're thinking of akshav. So sit.
Oh.
Right?
Yashav.
Yashav. Yeah.
Yashav is it. I thought it was Shev. Shev.
That's like the command form. Yes. So the same root.
Oh, yeah.
Shev, right? Okay, and then we also talked about the verb lehavi. Anybody remember what that one is? Lehavi. Did you say something, Cameron? Anybody? Lehavi? That one is to bring. To bring. So that comes from the same root as bo, come. Right? Bo. So you can see the same root with the bet and aleph right there. To bring. And then I think we also, well, I don't know. Those probably are the week before. Anybody remember the word for friend?
Habibi. But that's Arabic, right? Habibi.
Well, it comes from a Hebrew. It might be Arabic, but it's a root that is also Hebrew.
It's a Semitic word.
Yeah, it's common root in both languages. So yeah.
Haber.
Chaver, yes. Chaver is a friend. How do you say mother?
Ima.
Ima. But what about just mother? Because Ima is
M?
like mom or mommy. Yeah. M. M is mother. And Av. M. Yeah.
Stop it, M. M, please stop it.
M and Av.
These boys are so loud.
Can you quiet them down?
Sorry.
And then how do you say to take? Anybody remember that one? Take.
Take
Yeah. Yep. You're close. Lakach. Yes. Lakach.
Or is it lecha?
Lakach.
Or lecha?
So you have the hard ka in the middle. Lakach.
Okay, let me see.
Guttural on the end. Lakach. La.
So that's a proof and then a chet.
Yes. Yep. Lakach. Okay. So there's a little bit of review of some of the words we've done recently.
Again, what is it? To bring?
Lakach is to take.
To take.
Lakachat would be like the infinitive form. To take is lakachat, but just lakach would be like took or take. Yeah. So. All right. Okay, so today let's talk about some more pronouns. So far we've learned pronouns like ani. What's ani? I. We learned I don't know if we learned those yet. Okay, we learned third person pronouns like who. What is who? He, right? And we learned he, which is she. Okay. Then we have, I think I have one right here, if not over there.
Oh,
What happened to the one?
I think so. I think I saw one in here.
Oh, it's got it. Yeah, the screw gun.
hey Joseph, don't worry, go ahead. I'm
Maybe
gonna go
not.
back here.
I don't see one there. So who and he, and then we also have hem, which would be the plural third person. Right, they. Okay. And then you have the feminine form of that as hen. So this would just be they, but feminine. Okay, so the feminine form of they. Okay, so those are all of the third person pronouns, which we'd already covered, who and he, him and hen, okay? And then the other first person pronoun is, of course, the plural, we. And that is, anybody know it? Anachnu. Good. So anachnu. We. Anachnu. Okay. So let's start with these ones for now. So what we're going to be looking at is the endings, right? The suffixes that are added to words in Hebrew to show possession or who's doing the action if they're attached onto verbs and stuff, like subject of the verb and stuff. So here we have, like with this one, this is a noun, right? Elohim, God, and then you have chem on the end. So this is showing you belonging, right? So it's your God, right? Elohe chem. Same thing here, v'shotrei chem. So your officers. Kul chem, all of you. Right? So we're talking about these types of suffixes here. So let's look at what letters will show up as the suffix. Okay, so you're going to have a word, and then if it's a third person suffix, right, saying his or he or him, right, it's going to be a vav attached to the end of the word. Okay, so whatever this word is, you'll see a vav at the end. Okay, most of the time that vav would be a cholam vav like this with the dot over it saying o, but sometimes it'll be actually with a ah coming before, and you'll see a yod vav and the ending would be av, but it's always going to be a vav that's that last letter on the word. Okay, so this happens when it's a plural word. Generally, most of the time it's because it's a plural word. So like with the word Elohim, if you were going to say his Elohim, you would say Elohav. Okay, so it would end with the yod vav being the av ending. Okay, so it will always be a vav. Most of the time it's o, but sometimes it will be the v sound. So the example we have right here, I just saw one right here. U ve'alato. So this would be and in his, right? Curse, I think, is the word that's being used there. Yeah, pretty sure.
The L was like Elohim, right? Or Yahweh or God or
Like here?
no, the one you just did.
No, so uva Allah would be the root. So aleph lamed hey.
Oh, sorry.
So yeah.
What is Aleph Lamed? What word is that?
I think it has to do with curse. A curse.
Oh, I'm sorry,
usually.
you said that.
Yeah.
Okay.
I'd have to see more of the context of the verse to make sure that's what it is, but yeah.
You translate like implications.
As an implication? Okay, yeah, it's possible that that's what's going on here with it. Okay, so that's the vav. I think that's the only example with the vav for the possessive suffix of the masculine singular, okay? Then with the feminine, you guys already know what it is, right? What do we add when we're saying her something?
Tough.
No,
It's not.
it's a hey.
Okay.
Yeah, so the hey will be added to show the feminine. So for example, like with the word bait, you just add a hey on the end, and then it would be pronounced beita. Beita. So his house would be beito, her house would be beita. Okay?
This one has its sanctions. So
Sanctions.
I would guess it would have to do with the curse also.
Yeah. Yeah, in some context it would translate as curse, but. Okay, and then from ani, the ending that we get is the yod, right, with the e vowel. So just like the end of the pronoun itself, ani, right, you're getting up with that yod added and the e ending. So that suffix is going to mean me, or my, or I. Okay. So for instance, with bait, like we were talking about, beito and beita would be beiti, would be my house.
First person.
Yep, first person. Okay, and then who can guess what's going to be the ending for anachnu? What's the suffix that we add to show we, our, us? Anybody?
Enough me. No, I don't know.
It's just the ending of the word, so nu. Right? It could just be the vav, but we add nu, and that makes it clear that it's not this one, right? Because this is a vav added for he or him.
Eloheinu.
Yeah, so like our God is Eloheinu, right? Okay, I don't see anything there. Most of what's here on this page right here, mostly what you're seeing is the second person ones, which is the kaf. Chem and cha, chem, right? So those are the second person forms. So let's go ahead and cover those while we're on this topic. So we have ata, which you guys are probably all familiar with ata. Is everybody familiar? What is ata? Ata is you, right? You know that from all the blessings probably that we do, like for bread or whatever, right? Baruch ata Adonai, blessed are you, Lord. Right? So ata is you. Okay, so that's the masculine form of you. And then the feminine form is just at. So we shorten it. Okay. So that will be you, but the feminine form. So all of these are you, right? This is just going to be feminine form of you is at. And then just like we did with third person things down here, we add a mem. So who, he, and hem. Ata, at, and atem. Okay, so the plural one, we just add that mem on the end. It's kind of a standard indicator for plural anywhere we're looking, right, is that mem on the end. So the masculine plural form for you, right? All of these are you in this whole box here. All of these are you. Masculine plural is atem. The feminine plural is aten. So again, just like down here, hem and hen, masculine versus feminine of they. So the masculine versus feminine of the plural form for you, like you all, atem and aten. Okay? And then,
Oh my God. Here you are.
so for all of these, okay, I'm going to do these in a little bit here. So for all of these, you will end up with a kaf, sofit, or a kaf on the end of the word, okay? Okay, so we have chem would be the ending that's added for atem. You'll see chem, so the plural ending, and then for aten it would be chen. So you're still having that noon, right, indication from there. You're still having the mem from there.
Okay.
Here what we have is cha for the masculine and ach for the feminine. So ata will end with that open ah ending, right? Ata and cha. And this one being closed, a vowel to the consonant, at, ach, right? So this is the feminine ending with the kaf, so feet. Okay? So these are very important to know when you're studying biblical Hebrew because of how much they do those compound words that are adding suffixes and building the pronoun into the word instead of using a lot of pronouns. So in modern Hebrew, they use the pronouns a lot more, but in biblical Hebrew, very often that you'll get words that could be broken out into 3 words. Okay, so here we have the masculine plural ending is going to be em or am, and then the nun sofit being the ending for the feminine third person ones. Okay. So now when we're going through here, we should be able to recognize. So here we have le ovrecha. So this is to cross, to pass over you, right? And here we have nashim would be women. So nashechem is you alls, right? Your women. Vegercha, your, right? Your stranger. So this is masculine singular. Here we have shivtechem. So shvatim or shevet is the word. Anybody know that? Shevet?
Shevet is a tribe?
It's a tribe, yeah. So shivtechem would be your, right? Chem, your tribes. So plural, right? The plural form, masculine, chem. Right? So talking to a group of people, to all of Israel, your tribes. Here we have your heads, Roshechem. Here we have your God, Elohechem. Here we have Shotrechem, your officers. And here we have Kol. You guys know the word Kol, which is all. So Kulchem is all of you. Okay, so that's an example of how here it's possessive, Shotrechem, your officers. And here it would just translate as you. So this is all of you. Kulchem. All of you all. Here it's your officers. Okay, so it's not always going to be your, it can be you or your. Just like with the yod, it could be I or my or me. Okay. In modern Hebrew, these endings are pretty much only used to show possession. So this one will really just be my or mine. This will be our or ours, your, yours. Okay. But in biblical Hebrew, they can cover every aspect of the pronoun. So it could be you or yours. It could be my, mine, me, I even. Okay. So they cover the whole range of the pronoun. In the biblical Hebrew. So they're very common, used massively in biblical Hebrew, as you can see there. Like, look, we'll just point out the words that have a possessive suffix added on to the end, right? So this, none of this does. Then from here we have 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, not, okay, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11, no, 12, 13, 14, 15, 16 words there that have that possessive suffix added on there. So it's very common in biblical Hebrew. So we're going to be seeing those a lot. Okay, so now let's just do a couple more examples with some words that we know already. So who remembers the word for righteousness? Tzedek. Right? So tzedek is righteousness. So your righteousness would be, depending on if you're talking, so let's say for a woman, so like if it was talking to Jerusalem or to Israel, is often addressed like in the feminine sense, but in like Jerusalem would be tzidkech. Tzidkech. So you have that root word of tzedek, and then the kaf sofit added. Your righteousness. Tzidkech. Okay. How about with the word davar? Who remembers the word davar? Word. Okay, so if we took that and added a vav, then what does it mean? Yeah, divro or dvaro. What would be dvaro?
His word.
His word, right. Okay. What about divri?
My word.
My word. Good. What about dvarcha?
Her word.
Your word.
Or
Dvar.
huh?
Yeah, dvarcha. Your word.
But it wouldn't be feminine or masculine or
Dvarech. So dvarech would be the feminine, your word, and dvarcha would be the masculine. So the masculine is going to always follow the same concept of the open ending, right? Ata, dvarcha. And this one ending on the consonant. At, or ach, or ech. Okay. Okay. Let's see, what's another noun that we've covered? So we have the word ayin or enaim. Enaim is the plural. Eyes. Enaim. So then when we're doing something to say your eyes, we would just say ene. Right? Ene. And then you could add something. Ene would be like the eyes of. Let's see. What would this mean? Ene beno. What is beno? Son, right? Ben is son, but then what's the vav?
his
Yeah, his son. So ene beno would be,
his son's eyes.
yeah, the eyes of his son, or his son's eyes. Okay? So with ene, you can build on it, right? So if we were going to say my eyes, what would we have to add to make this instead of being?
Would it be a knee or a knee?
So it would be enai. So you add another yod. In biblical Hebrew, they won't necessarily add another yod. Okay, so you can add another yod, and I think there's probably cases in biblical where it would have both yods, but a lot of times in biblical, you don't end up with those extra letters. But the vowing would change, right, to this, enai. So it's a nai. Now you're having that double yod there. So you're adding a yod. Okay, so what if we were going to say her eyes? What would that be? Ene. So it's third person though, so we're going for he, right? Third person. Her eyes. Enea. Enea would be her eyes. And then, so I mentioned with this one, with the masculine, when there's a yod here, right? We just, or when it's a plural thing, we just add the vav and we end up with the av sound instead of o. Right? So the masculine would be enav, his eyes, enav, because of the yod here. But it's still just adding a vav, right? But the sound is the av thing instead of o. So sometimes you just need to be looking at the letter and not worry about how it's pronounced in that specific situation. Okay? Any questions about those suffixes, the endings? Okay. Who remembers the word for place? Makom. So what would this be then?
My place.
My place. Mekomi.
My homie.
Mekomi. Okay. How about that word? What's this word?
I gotta refer.
Ish, yes.
That's a
So
shadow.
ish is man, right? So what would be this one?
Isha.
Isha would be,
A woman.
it could be woman, but this dot here actually will tell you that this is a possessive hey being
so
added.
that makes it plural.
So then it would be her man.
Oh, her.
Her man, right? So Isha, when it means woman, will actually be written without that dot there. So in the biblical Hebrew, you would be able to read and go, oh, okay, so this one's possessive. It's saying her man and not woman, because they look exactly the same otherwise. But yeah, so you're just adding that hey onto there. How about my man? How would you say my man?
Ishi.
Ishi. Good. Ishi.
Is it Hosea where
Yeah.
Papa says
Right.
we will no longer
Call
call
him-
him Lord, we'll
right.
call him Ishi.
Yeah.
Or
My
Baal.
my husband instead of yeah.
Because
My
they
Lord.
use for husband, like seculars use Baal, and I noticed the religious use Ish.
Oh really?
Yeah,
I hadn't ever noticed that.
but they call it like Baal, right, husband?
Yes. Yeah.
No bueno.
Baal is a master. It's also just simply the word for owner, right? So even like if you're going to a shop or something, if you want to talk to the owner, you would just ask for Baal Habayit. It's like the head of the house, the owner of the house would be Baal Habayit. So a Baal can also just be the master of something, which is like owner, right?
So how do you know if they're talking about the master, all that stuff, or if they're talking about the God? Is it just
Well-
in context?
Yeah, it's going to be context, but
Okay.
yeah, because even, yeah, you'll see in biblical Hebrew too that it's used both ways. It's used just
Okay.
as the term for a master of something, but it's also used in reference to the false god. So, all right. Let's see if we have maybe one more word we could do. Yeah, so we could do this with the word Shem. What does Shem mean? Name. Right, so my name is Shmi. Okay, so very often when you add your ending, right, when we're adding a suffix, that first vowel will shorten, okay? Very common that you'll see this, okay? So just keep that in mind. Ultimately, the best way to learn like the proper ones is just exposure. So just read your Bible a lot, and eventually it'll just sound right, and you'll know it's Shmi and not Shemi, right? It's Shmi. And so, generally speaking, though, you're going to have that first vowel shorten a little bit if you add a suffix, and the emphasis is always on the suffix. Okay, there are some exceptions to that in biblical Hebrew when it's properly pronounced or whatever, but in general, the emphasis will be on the possessive suffix. So even if the word doesn't change, like you're going to now emphasize that ending. So Shmi is my name. How about,
Almost like the accents on the
yeah,
the
because
I,
you're
yeah.
emphasizing that it is belonging to someone. And you don't want them to miss that ownership thing, right? You want them to hear the word, but they need to know who it belongs to. So that's like the important part of it. Shmi, what about Shmo? What would Shmo mean?
his name,
His name, good. How about Shma?
her name,
Her name. How about Shimcha?
her joy,
No.
Shimcha.
Shimcha.
Is it their female? Is it for female?
No, so it'll be your name.
Shimcha.
Shimcha, right? Because we have
Oh,
the
yeah, your name is
cha.
Shimcha.
Shimcha Kadosh. Yeah, you know that from a song. Also, Shmech, right? That would be the feminine. Shmech. Your name. Speaking to a woman.
I'm about to smack that
Shmech.
computer.
Yeah, keeps turning on.
Never mind. There it goes. Smack is what? Your name?
Yeah, your name. Speaking to a woman. Shmech. So if you're asking a woman, what's your name? You could say Ma Shmech.
My Shmack.
Ma Shmech. What's your name? Ma Shimcha. What's your name? To a man. Ma Shimcha. And if you're introducing yourself, you can say Shmi, and then say your name, right? Shmi.
So your name, Shmi, would you, I mean, you're a man. Would you still say Shmi?
Yeah, it doesn't matter. Yeah, it's the same. Yes, just like with Ani. Because you say ani, a woman says ani, and a man says ani. So with the first person pronouns, there's no gender. So you only have two forms, right? With second person pronouns, we have four, right? Because you have the masculine, masculine plural, feminine, feminine plural. Same thing with third person pronouns. The first person ones are the same. There's only two, just singular and plural. So it's the same concept with that ending. Shmi is just my name, whoever's speaking. Okay? All right, so we covered all of the possessive endings. These are going to be invaluable as we're going through and reading. You really want to know these and have these down solid. And as we go, you'll remember. You'll get lots of review as we're reading because they show up all the time. But yeah, if you want to copy those down, I'll send out a picture of them on the group chat as well so that everybody can see those. But yeah, I think that's that for the first part of class, and we'll come back in about 10 minutes and do the reading. So this week's Torah portion is called Nitzavim. Who knows what Nitzavim means? Nitzavim. So it's usually translated as standing, but it can just be like being somewhere, like being present. It also is used, it's like standing, but it's in relation to something else. So it's not just, so like I think the word for parallel is also from this root, because it's like something that's in relation to something else. So it's not just standing, but standing in front of, or standing next to, or against, or beside, or all that, right? So atem, what's atem?
They?
No, you.
Huh?
You.
Oh, you.
Plural form of you, yeah.
It's a masculine?
Yep, masculine and plural, right? So atem, you all. Nitzavim, are standing. Hayom, today. Kulchem, right?
Together?
All of you. So kol is all, right?
Okay.
So here we have kulchem, all of you. So we talked about that ending, right? Chem. So all of you. Lifnei. Anybody remember this word? We came across this one a couple times last week, I think. Lifnei. Anybody remember? Lifnei is in front of, or before. Okay, so you are all standing before Adonai Elohechem, the Lord your God. So again, that ending, chem, your God. Okay, Roshechem. So the root word here is rosh, right? Head. So chem, though,
Is theirs?
your.
Or it's possessive?
Your heads. So you notice the yod here, because this root is rashim, so it would be plural, heads, but then chem is added. So your heads. So talking about like your chief men, your heads. Shivtechem, your tribes, right? Shvatim, shivtechem, so your tribes. Ziknechem,
Ziknei,
your elders.
others,
So zakan is like the word for beard, right?
beard.
So your bearded ones, or your elders. Ziknechem, veshotrechem, and your officers, so shotrim. In modern Hebrew, they still use this word for like a police officer would be called a shoter. Veshotrechem, your officers. Kol ish, so what's that going to mean? Kol,
Amen.
every man. Kol ish Yisrael, every man of Israel. Mm-hmm. Good.
Since we're going to
Yeah.
do man, are they talking about all the people, or are they talking about just the men, all the men?
So this here, I think, is specifically probably males, like the men. I think that's what it's talking about. Because, yeah, probably. But it can mean the other. So there, from that word, we also have the word anashim, which is oftentimes men. But, you know, we're seeing this all the time in biblical Hebrew, where if it's a mixture of both men and women, you use the masculine plural. And so the women are included in the group, or they aren't. And you don't always
don't
know.
know.
We don't always
Same
know.
as in Spanish,
Yeah.
though, it's like,
Yeah.
same.
Yeah.
If there's 100 women and one man, and they use
It's
it.
all the masculine. Yeah.
Same in Hebrew then?
Yeah, same thing. Same thing.
So then there's no way, because there's like a lot of rulings,
Hmm.
and you go, and the girls go, oh, that's me too, but we don't really know.
Yes. That's why I think tradition is very helpful, because you
So
can't know from
tradition
just
is
looking
good.
at the literal words. You can't know. And so at some point you have to say, well, what have the leaders decided? That's what we're going to do. That's my perspective.
Yeah, okay.
Okay, verse 10. Tapchem. Anybody know that word taf? Tapchem is a little bit obscure, but it shows up in biblical Hebrew quite a bit. It's a word for children. So tapchem, your children. So now it's going in. So this was probably mainly talking about the men, and now it's telling you who else was also there. Tapchem, so your children. Nashechem, your women. Nashim. So let me just show you guys this real quick. So this is the full root for the word ish. Okay, so ish and isha don't get the noon from the root word of man or mankind, Enosh. You guys remember Enosh? That guy early on in Genesis? So this word Enosh becomes a word for man in general. You'll see it Bar Enosh, I think, in the Psalms. It'll talk about the Son of Man. It'll say Bar Enosh. So it's another thing like Ben Adam, the Son of Man. Bar Enosh would be another word like that. So when you get into the plurals, though, you have Anashim for men, Ish and Anashim. But then when you do women, it's just Nashim. So no Aleph, right, no Aleph is the difference between men and women. So this is a kind of unusual layout with these nouns and the forms of this. So that's what's here is Nashim, right, so your wives or your women, Nashechem. Okay, so Nashim, women. Okay, but it all comes from this root, Enosh, so some of them don't have the Aleph, right, like this one doesn't have the Aleph, and these two don't have the Nun, so it's a little bit complicated. But notice that with the Nun, right? What's that other word that we learned with the Nun that sometimes doesn't show up? Anybody remember we were talking about this? It's like the most unusual verb in the Hebrew language. Anybody remember? It's Natan. So give, yeah. This one, it's the same thing. The Nun is often not showing up. So in like future tense forms, that first Nun is not showing up. And in some of the past tense forms, the second Nun isn't showing up. And in the infinitive form, neither Nun shows up. So to give is latet. So you don't see either of the Nuns. Right, so this verb is very unusual in that way of like the letters, the root letters not showing up. But Nun is one of those problematic letters that oftentimes won't show up, even though it's one of the root letters. It doesn't show up in certain forms of the word. It's just one to be aware of. If you're like trying to look up a word or you're reading something, it's like there's only 2 root letters there. What's the third root letter? Because you can't look it up without that third root letter. Nun is one of the ones that you'll want to check because that's one that will disappear sometimes. So Nashechem, your women. Vegercha, so a ger is like a stranger, right? Someone who's residing with you. Vegercha, so your stranger. Asher, which is or who is. Bekerev. Kerev is like in the midst of, in the middle of. Bekerev machanecha. Does anybody know the word machane? Shuk machane Yehuda? What is that? Do you know?
It's the shuk.
But what is machane?
Machane is a gathering place, or
It's
is
like that. It's a camp.
a camp?
Yeah, so machane is a camp. So in the midst of your camp, right? Machanecha, your camp. So yeah, like Machane Yehuda would be like the camp of Judah, right? So all the camps of the different tribes in the wilderness. So Machane. In modern Hebrew, they still use this root like to park something. So like you park a vehicle, they'll use a word from this root because you're like setting up a camp, you're parking your vehicle, you're like setting something somewhere temporarily, but you're putting it in a certain position. Okay, Mechotev. So this is from the cutter, and it's a specific word for cutting that only applies to et. Okay? So actually if you say a chotev, you already know that it's a wood cutter because chotev is only used for cutting wood. It's interesting, in Hebrew we have a whole bunch of verbs for cutting, and it's all specific. So you have a specific word for cutting grass, a specific word for cutting, like pruning branches. We do that in English with pruning. You have a specific word for cutting, like with scissors. You have a specific word for cutting wood, a specific word for cutting hair. So like, just depending on what's being cut, you have a bunch of words. But mechotev etzecha, right? Because we know the word etz is tree or wood. So from the cutter of your wood, ad shoev, so until. Ad is like unto or until. Shoev, so this is to draw. Memecha, so mayim, you know that word? Right, memecha, so your water. So the drawer of your water. Shoev is like, drawing water. In modern Hebrew, this word is used for like pump, to pump water, or to pump gas or any of those types of things. But shoev is to draw water or to pump something. It's kind of funny that another word that uses this as a vacuum cleaner is called a shoev avak,
Sure, Baba.
a dust pumper. Pumps the dust out of your rugs. Shoev avak.
So that's one of those that guy tried to figure out and made up.
Probably, yeah. He was probably trying to figure out to get a word for pump or something, yeah. And
Is that
probably,
Benjamin Yehuda?
probably, I would guess that that would have had to been developed then,
Sure,
because
Baba.
probably in that 2000, 1800 year time frame is probably kind of when they started figuring out pumps and stuff, I would guess. But Shoev memecha. Verse 11. Leavrecha bevrit. So this is to pass over or to cross over you. Bevrit. So to,
With
yeah. In covenant, right? To go across with you in a covenant. Adonai Elohecha, so the covenant of the Lord your God. Uvalato, and with the oath, or with the curse would be a possible translation, but in the context of it, it's going to be like an oath, right? Asher Adonai, which the Lord Elohecha, the Lord your God, koret. So this is the word for to establish or cut, literally cut a covenant. So, which the Lord your God establishes or makes imcha, with you. So im, do you guys know the word im? Im is with. You actually do know this word. You didn't know that you knew it, though. So you know the word Immanuel or Emmanuel? What does it mean? What is Immanuel? Right? So im, anu, nu, right? What's that? Us, el, right? Im, anu, el is with us, is God. God is with us. Immanuel. So im cha means with you. Right? So the covenant that he made with you, hayom, today. Yeah. So im is another word that you now know. Even though you already knew it, you just didn't know that you knew it. So it's spelled the same as the word for people, am. Am is spelled the same as im, but so there's just the vowel difference. Im means with, am means a people.
Are those letters anywhere close to mother?
So it's an aleph mem instead of an ayin. Yes, that's a little different.
Oh, for Ima?
Okay, verse 12. Leman. Anybody know that word? Leman is like so that, or because of, or on account of, for the sake of. So that Hakim, he can establish Otcha, so establish you, Hayom, today, Lo, so that's to him, so establish you for himself or to himself, Le'am, as a people. Vehu, and he, right? Yihyeh. What's Yihyeh going to mean? You know the root haya. What's haya?
I mean, and could be there several things, right?
Yeah, it can be a few things, but
Haya could be beast too, right?
or chaya, that would be the chet. So haya means was. So was or be, those types of meanings. Something being. So yiyeh is the future tense, will be. Right? So he has established you as a people, and he will be, who yihyeh lecha, he will be to you, le Elohim, as a God, or as God. Kasher, so asher is like which. Kasher is kind of like like which, as which, diber, as he spoke, right? From that same root as davar, which is a word. So the verb form, diber, lach. So as he spoke to you. Okay, vechasher, and as, or and as which, nishba. And like, or as he swore, This word is swore. Lavotecha, to
Your father.
your fathers, right? Avot would be fathers, and cha, your, right? So as he swore to your fathers. And then we have them listed, le Avraham, le Yitzchak, so to Avraham, to Isaac, and to Jacob, ula Yaakov. Ul Yaakov. Okay? Verse 13. Velo. What's that mean? And no, or and not. Velo itchem, and not with you, levadchem. So not with you alone. Not with you by yourselves. Anochi, which is just I. So this is just ani. It just has a kaf added to it. But it's basically just ani. It means the exact same thing. It's just I. So in biblical Hebrew, there's another form of ani. I've heard it said, I haven't verified, but I heard someone say that it's like a stronger form of the word. So you might see it when there's like oaths being made and stuff. So it's just a stronger form of ani, but it means I. So you yourselves, anochi koret et habrit. So I cut the covenant, right? So not with you yourselves, just you alone, do I make this covenant. Hazot, right? Habrit hazot, this covenant. Habrit hazot.
What's hazot again?
This. So zeh, it's like zeh, but it's the feminine form of zeh.
Yeah,
Zeh and zot.
that's the first thing I learned. Come on, Zay.
Come on, zeh.
You know, how much is this?
So habrit hazot is this covenant. Ve'et ha'alah hazot, and this imprecation or this oath. This. This. So yeah, because in both cases here we're working with the word Allah, which is feminine, and here we're working with the word brit, which is also feminine. So the following this, right, this covenant is going to be the feminine form of this, because it's this covenant, which is feminine, and this oath, which is feminine. Okay, and then going on to verse 14. Kiet asher yeshno po imanu. Oh, there it is. Imanu. What's that mean?
My mother?
No. Imanu, not
Oh, the other Iman.
not Immanuel,
Not
but just
Immanuel,
Imanu.
I wrote it down now.
With us. Yeah.
Yeah, if
With
long
us.
Oh, with us. Okay.
Yeah. So, because of which there is yeshno po imanu, there is here with us, omed. You guys know this root? Omed? It's the same root for the word amidah. What does amidah mean? Standing. And so omed is standing. Amidah is like the noun form of standing. So a standing versus this is a verb, I am standing. Right? So all these who are with us here today, Hayom, Lifnei Adonai, before Adonai, Eloheinu, our God, Ve'et Asher Einenu Po, so and with, so this is a case where et translates as with. So here, the other side of it, it said im, which is a word for with, and then et can also mean with in certain cases. So this is one of those examples. We just saw another usage here where it says with you, itchem. So you can use this one as well. You could say imachem with this word im, but et can also mean with. So this itchem means with you, imanu means with us, and ve'et here is meaning with. Okay, so it's something that's helpful to know. Because some people will say et doesn't mean anything, right? They'll say it doesn't have a meaning, but it has a function even when it isn't translatable, but sometimes it's translatable meaning with. So it actually also has that meaning.
means with?
Yes.
Oh.
Especially in biblical Hebrew. In modern Hebrew, the only time it means with is in these constructs, with itchem or et and those types of words. So ve'et asher einenu po. So he's making this covenant with those who are here with us today before the Lord, right? And with those who einenu, which are not po, not here, imanu, with us hayom today.
So that's us. He's talking about us.
Yeah,
If
that's
we
with
weren't there,
us too. If we're willing to enter into the covenant, he is willing. $15. Ki atem. So what's ki?
With,
No.
he,
You remember, Elena? Ki, Zion, you remember?
Kitavo, remember this week and we had Kitavo? The weekend before we had Kit, that says, so it's like,
Usually you can use the word for. Usually for works. Sometimes because is better. Usually for. And in biblical Hebrew, there's a whole bunch of things it can mean, like if and when and stuff too. But here, for is good. Ki atem, for you, yadatem. What is yada? Because we taught this root.
and
What?
No.
Know or knowledge. Good, yeah. For you know. Ki atem yadatem. You know. Et asher. You know that which yashavnu be'eretz Mitzrayim. Ve'et, and asher, that which avarnu, that which we passed over, right? We passed over. Bekerev, in the midst of hagoyim. What are goyim?
yeah, the nation.
The nations, yeah, in the midst of the nations. Asher avartem, which you passed over or crossed over through. Vetir'u. Vetir'u, and you saw, I think is how that's going to be translated. Yeah, and you saw et shikutzehem. So shikutz can be like an abominable thing, an uncleanness, but it can also physically be an idol as well. It could translate as an idol. So, and you saw, and she could say him, so you saw their, right? You see the mem ending on it, him, their idols or their abominations. Ve'et gilulehem. I do not, off the top of my head, recognize the word gilul. So gal, if it's just part of that root, gal means a wave or a rolling of something. What verse is this? 15.
Like Gilgal or
16.
Golgol.
I think that was 16.
Is it in 16? Okay. See if I can find it. Gilulehem. It says the root is gilul. It's another word. It could be a log. So it is coming from that meaning of rolling. So it's a round piece of wood. But it also, by implication, could be an idol. So it's probably a carved log, a log that's been made into an idol.
Like the tiki log.
Okay. So gilulehem etz va'evan. So wood and
Rock.
rock. Kesef,
Money or
silver, yeah. Ve'zahav,
is an angle.
and gold. Asher, which is im. What's im?
Aim is, let's see, with you.
With him. So imahem, with
Them.
them. Yeah. Good. Well done. You knew a lot of those words. Okay. So let's go ahead and write some of these down because we've learned a lot. We've seen this one a lot. So im, what does it mean?
Aim is with.
With. Good. And it seems like there was one other word we kept encountering. What was it?
The one with the olive and the, oh, that was the,
I don't know. Let's stick with that. That's okay. It might have been the main one. Okay. So verse 17. Pen yesh bachem. So pen is like lest. What?
What?
So pnei. Pnei would be like
Oh.
face of. Yeah.
Okay,
Yeah.
okay.
You're close. Very close. So pen yesh, lest there is bachem in you, ish, a man, o isha, or a woman, o mishpacha,
or family,
or a family, o shevet,
or tribe,
or a tribe, asher, which levavo pone. So levavo, what's lev?
level is heart.
Heart, right. So his heart. Okay, so lest there be among you a man, woman, tribe, family whose heart pone,
Or they
turns.
turns
Hayom, me'im Adonai Eloheinu. So from with, that's like away from, right? So it turns from with the Lord your God. Lalechet, to go. La'avod, to serve or to work for. Elohei Hagoyim, the gods of the nations. Hahem, those nations. Penyesh, lest there is bachem in you. Shoresh. Anybody know that word? Shoresh? A root, good. Shoresh pore, so a fruitful root or a root bearing fruit. Rosh velana. So lana is wormwood, usually, I think.
one word.
So bearing like gall and wormwood, I think is how they usually would translate it. Yeah, that's interesting. Head. So it's not taken literally to mean a head in that case, yeah. Pore rosh. Unless together maybe that's a phrase.
Like the top of it?
Shosh pore, because this is like fruit or bearing fruit. This is a verb, right? Shoresh
So it's
pore
a-
rosh
if it's-
velana.
So if it's like it's a root or something that that's really grasping onto you, like,
Uh-huh.
'cause it, let me see.
Yeah, lest there be
Lest
among
there
you.
be,
Lest there be within you a root springing up or bearing the fruit of a head and wormwood. So it's a bitterness, a turning away, yeah. Okay, vehaya bishomo. So and he is in his hearing, bishomo et divrei hala, in his hearing at the words of the curse or the oath, hazot, this oath, vehit barech. So what's this word barech?
Barech,
Yeah.
like create,
No,
bara,
that's bara. Bara is create. So what's barech or baruch?
baruch, bless,
Yeah, blessed, right? So hit barech, this is like the reflexive form of bless. So blesses himself. So less, right, this person who hears the words of the oath, but blesses himself, bilvavo, in his heart, lemor, saying, Shalom yihye li, there will be peace for me. Ki b'shrirut libi, so if in the dictates or the
understanding of his heart.
ki b'shrirut libi alech, just shrirut, how do they translate it? Because it's like in the English it usually is like, I'll walk after the dictates of my own heart and I'll still be blessed or something, but
Self-righteousness.
let's see what that word is literally meaning, shrirut. What verse are we on? 18?
Yeah, 18.
There it is. Obstinacy, imagination, or lust, it could mean too.
Delusional person, someone who
Yeah.
delusional.
Shrirut, obstinacy. That makes sense. So in modern Hebrew, from the same root, I should have realized, shrir is the word for a muscle. A muscle is a shrir, so it's like being obstinate or stubborn, right? Okay? So he's saying, I'll have peace even though if I'm stubborn of my heart. And elech, and I will go, leman, so that, or in order to, sfot, add, right, from like Yosef, so that we'll be adding harava et hatzmea, So this verse is very hard to translate, actually. If you look at all the English translations, there's a ton of different ideas because it's kind of hard to translate. This part here, Rava has to do with like abundance or a lot of something. So like in Psalm 23 when it says, my cup, kos is the Hebrew word for cup, my kos runneth over, my cup runneth over, that's the word, levaya. So it's overflowing, it's abundant. Smeah is thirst. Okay, so it's saying, he walks in the stubborn dictates of his own heart, saying, he'll add drunkenness to thirst, a lot of translations would say, because it's like an overabundance. But you shouldn't have those two things together, because like if someone's drunk and they're also thirsting, then they're just going to get worse off, worse and worse. So it's kind of, that's a picture that a lot of translations favor, saying it's like adding drunkenness to thirst, like doing both of those. But I've heard another one too, and I can't remember what it was. I remember last year when I was studying this portion, there was actually a really neat connection with those things, but I have to go back and look at my notes and see what it was, because I don't remember right now. Okay, so yeah, tzmeah. So in modern Hebrew, it's the same word to say I'm thirsty. You say ani tzameh. Ani tzameh, or the feminine form is tzmeah. Ani tzmeah. Okay, so verse 19. This will be the last one, and we'll finish here. So, lo yoveh Adonai sloach lo. So the Lord will not be willing, right? The Lord God will not be willing. Sloach. Do you guys know this root? Slicha. It's the same root.
To forgive.
Forgive, yeah. He will not be willing to forgive lo to him. So this is always what goes with. You always have la. Forgive to. So like in the Lord's Prayer, the Avinu that we sing, slach lanu, right? Forgive to us. So it's always used with that preposition of to. Forgive to us. Kmo shegam anachnu solchim. No, because that would be an aleph if it meant no. Right? The vav here, this is this ending, right? His. To him. Right? Forgive to him. Kiaz yeshan. For then smoke. This is the root word here is smoke. For then would smoke af Adonai. God's nostrils or nose would smoke, basically. Get really mad, really angry. Vekinato, and his zeal or his zeal or jealousy, ba'ishahu would, yeah, I think it's some things will say it would like wax hot or something, like it's smoking already. In his jealousy against that man, hahu, that man. Verav-tzav-bo. Robetz is like, I think that means like to crouch down. This is 19. To crouch. Let's see what other meanings. To fall, to fold, to rest, to sit. Pretty much all the same. So, let's see. It says, anger will wax against that man. Verav-tzabo kol ha'olam. Okay, so the whole of this oath will basically be like laying in wait for him or crouching down for him. Bo, at him. This whole Allah, this whole oath. Haktuva. What's ketuvah?
Covenant or
Turn.
could be
You
a
could say
ketubah. It's like a wedding.
Ketuvah, yeah, it's called a ketubah, right? What they write, the document at the wedding, the marriage contract, but it just literally means a written, something written. Yeah, so everything that's written in this oath, right? Basefer, that's written in the book or the scroll, hazeh, in this scroll. Umacha, so and will blot out the Lord, right? So the Lord will blot out at Shmo. We just learned this. What's Shmo?
His name.
His name, right. So the Lord will blot out his name, mitachat, from under Hashamayim. The Lord will blot out his name from under heaven. Wow. May that not be about any of us.
Well, what came to mind is Nadav and Avihu.
Nadav and
pretty
Avihu.
much, you know.
Could be. Yeah, there's a lot of different ideas about what was going on with them. It's hard to know.
We know they,
Yeah, they messed up. We
they-
know
they-
that.
they probably were drinking.
Yeah, it's possible they were drunk or something. Yeah.
And it talks about not
Yeah, right. It mentions that directly after that you don't drink while they're in doing service, so in the temple. So it's very possible. All right.
All right.
Tuta.
So
Baba.
im. Im is your new word. Don't forget that one. And then all of those suffixes. We've mastered all those endings.
We mastered them?
Yeah, we did. You're a master. You're almost a Hebrew scholar. You're well on your way.
What an encourager.
All it takes is just keep doing it.
Dedication.
If you just keep doing it, you will get there. It only takes 10,000 hours, they say, to become an expert at something. So
10,000 hours.
that's it.
How long is that? Yeah, what hour is that?
It's a
So
lot.
365.
I was thinking about this like a couple years ago. I was like, when I heard that thing about the 10,000 hours is like a master of something. And so I started thinking about it, and I was like, I've probably done like 2,000-3,000 hours of Hebrew study. So it was like so far away.